Welcome back to the Halifax Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Jason Paul, licensed realtor, team lead at the Infinity Real Estate Group at eXp Realty in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I'm here to help you gain a better understanding of real estate in Halifax. Hit that subscribe button, and the Halifax Real Estate Podcast is now on Discord, where I break down our upcoming guests, topics, and hopefully create a little more engagement with you guys so you can have your questions answered as well. Now back to the show. Renting versus owning, equity building or maintenance free, unexpected costs or fixed monthly payments, own your own home or fixed term leases. Matt Shallo and Matt Legatto are mortgage brokers from Mortgage Alliance, and they're here today to talk about the pros and cons of renting an apartment or owning your own home. Enjoy. Hey guys, how are we doing?
Fantastic.
Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good time.
I know, about time. Been trying to get this organized for a while.
Hey, Christmas and business and
Everything
else in between, but you know.
And all the other times we met together, we just never brought microphones.
No, we can start though.
Yeah.
I do own them.
Yeah.
Hey.
So just for the audience at home, guys, what do we do for a living?
So, Matt Shallo here, folks. I am an associate mortgage broker here in the beautiful HRM. Prior to that, I spent a few years in the chartered bank space where I did real estate financing as well, more on the commercial side, business clients, things like that. And yeah, moved over to the broker space just about a year now and could not be happier to be here.
Matt?
Matt Legatto, associate mortgage broker as well with Mortgage Alliance. Partnered with Mr. Shallo over here. I got into it in 2023, so fairly new to it. But come back from sales background, operational management, stuff like that. So,
okay.
But yeah, just felt like a good fit jumping in working with him.
So you've been your own broker now for a year.
Yeah.
And you got into it in since the fall of 2023. So you're like you're like a new baby.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh yeah, green.
Yeah. How are you liking it?
Love it.
Love
Should
it.
have did this years ago.
Years ago.
Oh yeah, no, so awesome.
And how are you liking it after a year?
Again, should have done it a long time ago, only because I see such a significant value coming from, you know, a one product, so to speak, space to a multiple product solutions based scenarios. It's amazing. And bringing him on, it was awesome to do myself, but even better to have a great friend to do it with me.
Yeah, I bet. It's always fun when you're working with your friends.
And it's just kind of a combination of everything that, you know, you've done for over the years, right? You get into supervisor and your management, and you're just a problem solver, right? Well,
yeah, when you're in sales.
When you want your problem solved, but when you're about to buy a house, or a condo or something, right?
Well, that's when the problems come up.
And that tends to be when the problems come up. So, like, if everybody's running to you anyway for a solution, so now it's just the ability. I get to still be the guy that fixes the problems and gives you the solutions, but now I work for myself. I work alongside this fool here. And,
yeah.
You know, get to do these cool-ass podcasts.
Note he was talking to his partner, not me.
Yes. That's where I was pointing.
There is no video.
I should have deflected that one. I was looking at this gorgeous office view and I was like, holy jumpers, I think I just got burned.
So today we're talking about renting versus owning.
Yeah.
Probably the benefits. There's been a lot of conversation about renting versus owning in terms of people who renting, should they buy a house? Why would you want to buy a house? And also like homeowners who bought houses and think maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Absolutely.
So I guess the first thing I'm going to bring up for me, and I took notes for this, I'm actually really proud of myself.
We're very proud of you.
I brought one too.
Hey, we got notes. We're ready today. So the reason why I find this thing so fascinating is I was looking on Google yesterday to try and figure out what the average rents were in Halifax, because everyone they hear about all the time. The homeless crisis due by the rent increase, how much rent is these days in the Halifax Peninsula was horrible. Yep. I've got the median rent from Zumper.ca. Zumper. I had to make sure that was a real thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a rabbit hole.
You know what I mean?
When you sent me the message, I did say the name several times out loud. Just
right?
kind of polish it, you know.
I even went to Dow.ca to confirm, and they quote Zumper.
Okay.
And then I went to CMHC, and they quote Zumper.
Now we're talking then, right?
And the Zumper has it up to today. So today being January 25th, 25th, 2024. CMHC's last average rental market analysis of Halifax is October 2022.
Oh, wow.
They're far behind.
Oh, yeah.
So if you
lag?
Yeah. So if you want up-to-date numbers, the average rent, we're going to play a game here, guys. What do you think the average studio apartment rents for in Halifax right now?
$19.50.
Ooh. Matt Legatto.
I want to say like 16. I'm just basing it from back when I rented.
Okay.
Can't come up be more than that.
1803.
Ouch.
Okay. 1-bedroom apartment. Right. The median rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in Halifax.
$2,100.
I'm gonna go 2075.
2031. 2 for 2.
Price is Right rules here. And how far are we going down? Because I'll like $1.
The
Actual retail price.
the 2-bedroom.
2350.
Yeah, 25.
2849. 3-bedroom.
31.
Yeah, 34.
3434.
Wow.
That's a cute number.
Ju-
But not a nice price.
How wild
Insane.
for a studio. 1803.
And what do they qualify what the square footage of a studio is
No,
there?
they
Okay.
don't. I didn't read Zumper that deeply. I just got my numbers and ran.
Well, after a certain point, you see the numbers and you're like, okay,
Right?
why go further?
The average apartment rental, the average in Halifax. Have a guess.
Being like
1850.
Okay.
and that being like a 2-bedroom?
The average for all of them. 3s, 2s, 1
Okay,
studio.
I gotta
average.
Let me come back on that then.
Yeah.
I'm taking it all in. 25.
Like $2,000, 2,100?
2315.
Wow.
The average condo rental. If you're renting a condo from an owner,
3,000.
okay,
26?
2600. Like actually on the dot. House.
4,000.
Wow. Okay.
3,500.
$3,000.
Oh wow.
It's right, cheaper than you think.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly
by that one.
surprised. That the house is the nicest number of the lot
Yeah.
for all that.
Out of all that, yeah.
So to give you like the reason why that brings into context is we're going to talk about. I texted you guys yesterday to say, hey, run these numbers
Yep.
and tell me what your purchase price would be on a home purchase. So Matt Legatto's got them.
If you go for like say like a 1-bedroom condo,
Yeah,
okay. So the problem is
condo fees.
besides that, but it's the breadth of the price difference. So like if you look on average, you can find like a 2-bedroom condo from like 300,000 to 425.
Yeah,
Okay, so there's a pretty big spread. So
depending on where you look.
and it's depending on where you look, it's a bunch of different factors. So let's just say it's 400K is what you're paying.
Okay,
You need 5% down,
so $20,000.
right? There's $20,000.
Closing costs.
Property tax,
Yep.
condo fees. So property tax, heat, and I took an average condo fee of like $750 because you can see.
Wow.
Well, I've seen some at $1,000.
They're
I've seen some depending again where it's at. If we're talking like downtown,
Yeah.
9 something.
those are the older buildings. It's always the ones that get that high are the older buildings that were not managed well. For like 60, they're coming up 60, 70 years old. And the old condo boards in the past, when they were 30, 40, 50 years old, didn't manage the reserve fund well. So because
Costs are getting crazy.
So when the roof came due, or the painting came due, or the siding came due, special assessment. Not everyone has an extra $20,000 to put forward
For sure.
to siding on a, let's say, 30-story condo.
100%.
Right? So that's how you get those condo fees. Is you'll see them a lot in older buildings in downtown Halifax.
That puts the mortgage at $36.38 a month.
Oof.
Right. So even if we went down on the condo fees a little bit, $34.35 a month.
Okay.
You're in the range there of
3-bedroom house, a 3-bedroom apartment.
So that's the other thing. So I went and looked. I didn't go off Zumper.
Zumper. The link will be in the notes.
It's pronounced nuclear. So I went CREA.
Okay, Korea. Yeah.
Korea. So they're saying like 511 for an average medium in Halifax.
511 purchase price?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Because I mean you can go from 475 to 550. Like there's a
Yep.
range, right?
Yep.
So but at 511 you're at 35.
if you bought a house or if you bought a house.
If you bought the house. So you've got that a 3-bedroom, you're detached. So you're in the same range as a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
But the difference is equity,
Equity.
right?
Which
It's
is always
numbers.
everyone talks about the big value of equity.
Yeah.
Right? Why you buy homes, why you get into home ownership, why you want to get in the market, because you get to make the gains in equity in the market. What are the benefits of equity?
So until I purchased my first property last year, I'll be honest with you, I could have rented forever, I think. I like the idea of setting it and forgetting it. So,
Yeah.
renting from a nicer condo so that you don't have the property maintenance that you have to deal with a home and stuff. Until I really realized the value of that bank account that comes along with owning your own property.
So 2 things there. You've been a tenant renter up until this last year?
Yeah, I rented up until
The whole time.
Yeah, I've never owned a property.
You've never owned a property. Okay, so then what made you want to buy?
It was time, to be honest with you. We were outgrowing where we were at, with the 3 dogs and everything else. So it was time to put roots down and actually started to realize what equity could provide.
And what has it provided?
Well, it has the ability really for me to again, I kind of use it as a set it and forget it right now. As you're paying your monthly tax or your monthly payments. That's going in your essential little bank account. You're paying what you have to pay on your principal and your interest. But the way that the housing prices are going right now, the market value is up so much on property. So even where we bought last year, and then I had an analysis done this year just to see, and my house value went up $150,000.
Where did you buy?
Beaverbank.
Went by $150K. You went up by $150K in Beaverbank.
I did.
Oh,
this was from accredited,
I'm out that way.
Accredited CMA. Like I got a good one done from a colleague, and that is where the houses were selling at.
Yeah.
So take that, and then you go into the long rules of your equity takeout and things like that. There's the ability to take money out there, refinance, to pay off bad debt if I had any, to further invest into the property, to further invest into a business, or to invest in the next property.
Yeah.
Which is then how you're going to start to create your wealth.
Right.
And again, you're going to have your questions. Well, you need a down payment to get into that home, and we could get into the nuances of.
Oh, we will.
Oh, and I know we will.
Oh, we will.
But
I got you boys for an hour.
No, that's fantastic. But putting all that aside,
yeah.
Being in the situation that you have a down payment, it's the bank account for future investments. If you have children, you want to put those children through college. Well, you're sitting on equity in your home. You can access up to 80% of the value of your property. Could be a very large chunk of change if you've owned your home for a long time, right? Like
and even if you don't directly need it right away, even just to have the access to it, to get it, it's available to you. Don't use it. It sits there. You're not charged anything for having it just available, but it's available. You've got an interest rate which tends to be lower than what
but a typical rate would be, right? So if you take out, like for instance, if you do a HELOC, home equity line of credit, where are they now? 10, 12, 11, somewhere in there?
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere 10, 11, 12%. Well, how much is a credit card? 20, 25 now?
26, right?
Yeah.
So
if you're trying to take out, let's say 80% loan to value ratio. So what that means is if my house is worth $100,000, if I can afford the payment, I can take out up to 80%, which is $80,000 in a line of credit.
Yeah. And you're only charged
for what
you use on that line of credit. Yeah. Right? So if you just have it as just a safety net or future or whatever, it just sits there.
The other thing I love about the line of credit aspect is that it's debt, so it can't be taxed.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you're using it as a revolving debt facility as opposed to taking cash out and getting taxed on the cash.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of making 80 grand that's taxed at 50%, 40%, whatever your tax rate is, depending on where you are in the bracket and how you built your corporation.
Correct.
If I can take 80K on this debt, well, I don't have to use it. It's whenever I want to use it for whatever reason. As I took out the debt, if my home goes up another 10 grand in the next year, my line of credit availability can go up another 10%. So 88,000.
Correct.
That's what I can access on a line of credit. And you take that out anytime. You don't have to touch it.
Exactly.
It can just sit there. And as you're paying your principal and your interest, you're paying the debt down.
Correct.
Equity. Now, here's a question for you, because you've said you were a lifelong tenant. Why did you rent for so long? Because there's benefits of that too.
Oh, correct. Yeah. So I moved around an extensive amount, just from my background and things like that. So when I first got to Halifax, it was so last year when we bought the house, I had moved 13 times in 10 years. So just a lot of relocating.
Yeah.
So to take on the house, the mortgage, then potentially have to break the mortgage, which the fees would be included in that, not knowing where I was going to really be putting roots down. It just really didn't make a lot of sense. And I really wasn't in a financial position to have a down payment. So, that definitely took that into consideration. But, the stars aligned last year, and we're
up 150 grand.
and I'm not touching it. It's going to stay there, but it's really nice to know that, in a scenario where something happened to the house, the roof went, the basement flooded, something happened with our vehicles or things like that, you can access this funds for emergency purposes, and the banks are pretty easy on you to take out equity as long as, like you said, you can qualify again for that mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So
now I'm going to focus on him because he's bringing up a really interesting topic. So bear with me, Matt.
Well, I mean, look how good he looks in his suit, too. I can't focus on anything else myself.
Okay, now here's a question for you. You bought last year.
Mm-hmm.
What was your down payment and closing cost? What was your upfront cost to get into that house?
So it was 6.5%, so 5% down and 1.5% of the closing costs, roughly $30,000.
So you paid $30 last year, and you're up $150K
Right.
in equity this year.
So you take that into account, you're up 120.
Yeah, 120%,
Right.
or 120 grand, which would be 500%, 500%, because 100% would be 60 grand.
Right.
Right. That right there is the power of owning it.
Of home ownership and purchasing, absolutely.
Right.
And again, the feeling you get of having something that's your own, right? Like
Yeah.
you have full freedom to do whatever you want. And yes, in certain condos and buildings, you can paint and you can do this, but you really don't have the freedom to really blow out a wall if you want to, renovate the floor a certain way that you want, customize it really how you want it. So that just, besides all the benefits financially, it's just I found it such a wholesome experience.
Right. Now, when it comes to home ownership, we talk about the benefits of the equity gain, making money in your account. It's an investment because people can buy a house today, live in it for 25 years, own it outright, and probably sell it for a pretty profit after the fact as house prices increase. But renting, there are benefits to that though. Location.
Well, maintenance. You're in a building. You're not shoveling a driveway.
Yeah.
Your utilities and everything in the building. You take your stuff down the garbage chute. You go to the underground parking garage. Now, the one downside to that is you're probably going to pay a hefty price for that underground parking garage.
I was going to say, get ready for the 6,500.
This isn't a luxury that's included, but it's there.
You have a car.
But and the other thing too is, like, I bought my house 6 years ago, and I always make the joke, okay, well, you go out on the weekend and you're like, I'm just going to run to the hardware store real quick, and it costs you $200. It never seems to, it's almost like Costco, but with a house, besides just the bill, comes all the little things that come with upkeep of a home and doing things that you want. Where with an apartment, you're not going to have that really. Yeah, you can go to IKEA and get that nice little, furniture piece or whatever, but
the TV stand.
Yeah.
I always find at IKEA they get the nice TV stands that like frame the whole wall, and you're like, that will have to come down.
Yeah, you're not going to paint. You're not going to paint foundation and resealing the driveway and doing all these different things that come with being a house. Now, me personally, again, love doing all that stuff. Throw the work boots on, let's go. Right, but
I'm not like that.
So that's why he rented longer.
Okay, but here's a question for you then, because you've owned for 6 years.
Oh yeah,
right. So you've actually had to deal with the cost and upkeep of homeownership, because I'm guessing since you've owned for a year, you haven't really done anything yet.
Oh yes.
Oh, you've done some stuff.
Yep.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But in 6 years, what's the largest expense you've had to do for your house?
I put a new chimney on the house. That was about 10 grand.
Oh,
right.
You know what? 10 grand for a new chimney?
I knew a guy.
I was gonna say don't
worry about it.
They don't come
it was legit.
He's a man of the people.
I'm a man of the people. I know a guy. So I know I did the chimney. I did a brand new driveway. I had a tree in my driveway that was beautiful, huge, just picturesque. Ripped the triplex, and I mean the triplex, off my house twice in 2 different rainstorms, like ice storms in the wintertime. So that tree had to come down, and I had to put a new mast on the house. So that was a pretty decent little expense.
Yeah.
So, again, super fun to own a home. But that would not have happened to me had I been in an apartment.
Right, because if you need a new chimney in an apartment, well, first off, they don't come with chimneys. But if you're renting a house,
if there's something wrong with something on the roof, you're not paying for it.
You're not paying for it.
But it's my roof. So, and so there's when you say it out loud. And I mean, I've done the improvement side of things too. So I did the heat pump. I put the solar panels on.
Oh,
all this stuff, right? So there's been things that I've put into the house that have increased the value of it. Like, yes, I got my assessment rather up. I
was literally gonna. Right? I was bringing up my next thing is right now HRM's in uproar because property assessments just came out.
Yeah, but you can't get one without the other. You can't get the pleasure of going to get the equity out of your home and take that 80% that is there now in an unrealized gain, but then be
mad,
upset when the taxes come in and say, hey, we recognize that too. but we're going to charge you a little bit more on a smaller portion. Like, it's capped. I get it. Times are tough. I don't want to pay more either. But when you look at the ability, what you can do out of that home because of the equity that's been into it now, you got to reason with it. Like,
yours is capped though, right? Like, you just bought a year ago, so you're not capped right now. It takes 2 years for the cap to take effect. Does it not? Maybe he doesn't know.
I'm not 100% sure.
New to home ownership.
I know my property taxes went up.
Yeah, everyone did.
Right, but I mean, to be fair, it went from what it was to I think $100 more a month.
Okay.
So I've taken a steep jump, but the cap has helped.
Yeah, what was your jump?
My assessed value I was in the low 2s for an assessed value. Now I'm like up into the mid to high 3s in 2 years.
In Hammond's Plain.
Oh yeah.
You're mid 3s in Hammond's Plain.
Did I tell you about my new chimney and driveway?
I just mean for
Is it not enough? Like, and solar panels? No, honestly to God. Yeah, because the home, I'm the second owner of the home, period.
Well, that's what I was going to
say.
say.
When I bought the home, it was reassessed for what the value was when I bought it.
Yeah.
And now, since what's happened in my neighborhood, homes have doubled in price.
The cap has saved you.
So the cap has saved me.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'd be like, holy jumping.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say is for a cap, for an assessment of 300-ish in Hammond's Plains, like, you're doing very well on taxes.
I'm capped in the mid 2s. So it's assessed at the mid 3s and I'm capped in the mid 2s.
Yeah.
So I've seen quite the jump but still, again, I've also had to refinance.
Yeah.
Once, or I didn't have to, but to Matt's point earlier, it was time. I took advantage of the equity and I paid off some debt, and I did have a line of credit that's just there for if I wanted it.
What was the when did you pull the equity out?
2021, 2022.
Okay. How much you pull out?
2021.
It's just because I'm trying to give examples of like the power of this to people.
Oh, for sure.
I probably took out about maybe $40,000.
Okay.
You know?
You've used it to pay down some debt.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, I had like whatever. Because again, when I bought my house, I was tired of having to pay that rent in the city. Like, I was at the time just off the Bedford Highway, and it was like $1,500 a month, which I thought then was ludicrous.
You should see today's.
I know. But that's why I undershot all these numbers, because I'm like, this is only, and it wasn't that long ago. Like, again, you're talking 6 years ago. So it was $1,500 plus.
Weren't you in a house then too?
And I was in a house. So ironically enough, and this is how it all kind of came to pass, a realtor showed up at my door.
They're the worst.
No, she's fantastic. Actually, we're still friends now. She is a fantastic woman. And some are sketchy, but she came. The homeowner wanted to sell the house, so she came to me and she said, "Hey, you're renting. Do you want to sell it?" And the price she offered it me, had I known, I would have taken in a heartbeat, because now off the Bedford Highway,
everyone and their child.
Yeah.
Has said, had I known in 2019.
But when they came to me and said, "Hey, I want $240 for this little tiny house off the Bedford Highway," I was like, "You crazy?" No. So anyway, the realtor was going to start showing the place, so she came to the door. So anyway, that kind of spurred the conversation for us to start looking.
Yeah.
And so then that's how I got into it. However, to the cost side of buying a home, I did the first time home buyer through my RSP.
Oh, did you?
Which I thought, okay, great.
Okay.
There's the money for the down payment. But it's all the other stuff. Like,
what's the other stuff?
The property tax, like
yeah.
the transfer tax. It's every time you talk to a lawyer is $750. I don't care if they're your friend or your cousin or the best lawyer in the HRM. Just to say hello is like $700. You know, and then they didn't pay this. The previous owner paid this. Now you have to pay this back. So there was all the extra stuff that really started to, and I was like, oh. And even at the time, I was lucky enough to have a broker, just, plug for brokers. But I had a great broker at the time, and she said, be wary of all these costs. But you get in this tunnel when you're buying a home because of the cost and like the timelines and everything, where you're just like, la, 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 and the world is spinning, that you don't pay attention to it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need an extra $3,000 for something.
The thing about buying a house is when you start to when you get the keys, there's no actual talk of home ownership. There's no actual conversation of like, when you settle in, get ready. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get kicked. Like, you're not going to realize how expensive it is to hold. Like you said it best. You go to the hardware store, it is $200.
Every time. All I showed up for was paint. I got a couple brushes. Something was on clearance, and it still cost me $200.
Well, it's 2024. Inflation's a bitch.
That's why I don't go to the hardware store, right? I call him.
So you're paying $200 for him.
Yeah, in my materials.
Yeah. And
And you're paying what, beer?
Basically.
That's a great
super
ROI.
cheap labor
See,
costs.
now you know why he's in equity now.
Yeah.
He sees the exchange.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we bought our house, and I love talking about my house because it's like I am a realtor. I'm all,
Is that what you do?
I know, right? I'm at all the inspections. I've been sat in 10 a lot now and been there for all the stuff, and I still didn't catch 3/4 of the shit in mine. And I brought my inspector, who is my guy. He does most of my clients if we're doing home inspections. And the day we closed, money transferred, we had gotten keys, we moved in, the sink crapped out.
Oh, no.
And you think about a trip to a hardware store. My wife, there's a video of my wife cutting the plumbing because she had to do a new faucet.
Oh, no.
Because the whole thing had. Thank God she's handy.
It was shortly after I bought my place. He was over there one time and he's just looking at the sink. He's like, "Is that supposed to be like that?" Copper pipe just rotted a hole right through it, and it's going all over the
I was
place.
looking
Hold
for
on,
a paper
hold on.
bag. I went over. I think he was. I was over to look for at the dog or something like that. Anyway, I went to look for a paper bag underneath the sink, and I look and there's this giant hole, and I'm like, I don't know anything about plumbing, but I do know that a hole in that drain probably can't be very good. So I better call him.
Another pleasant part of home ownership, you're at work in the middle of the day and somebody shows you that picture and you're like, yeah, I got to fix that when I get home.
But how often do you look under your sink? You don't. If you do, you put your hand under to grab something.
Well, yeah. How often do you actually look at your house? Unless it's something's wrong with it.
Oh, exactly.
We had a roof leak recently, and we didn't find out till it came through the master.
Oh, good. That's what you want.
Yeah, right. But that's we talk about. I love it as realtors and brokers. We talk about the benefit. We're always like, own a home, own an asset.
For sure.
It's the best thing ever. Let's talk about let's talk about the shit.
Did I tell you about the time the power got ripped off twice? Can we go back to that again? It peeled the triplex off the home like the top of a Doyle can of fruit.
Well, even if you're renting, you lose power with a stiff breeze.
No, so this was the best part. The absolute best part was the power didn't die to the house.
What?
So the power line was ripped off the front, laying across the driveway in the front yard, and as live as we are right now. And even the power guy was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Is thing acting funny?" I'm like, "Well, the microwave's kind of making a weird noise." And he's like, "Don't turn it on and isolate the heat pump because."
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we were stuck in the house because there's a live wire across the front yard for a couple days.
But that's home ownership. Great
that
memories.
is awesome memories. Girlfriend and I camped out in the living room.
We have a gravel driveway, and every time Halifax decides to get this wet snow rain, we get a dirty old culvert in the driveway. I don't want to spend 10 or 15 grand to pave my driveway, so that is one of those things that every spring I will rake it.
You rake your driveway?
I do, to fill up the little pots, because if not, you couldn't come up my driveway. You'd pop a tire, and I'd have to have an OK tire located next door for all your servicing needs.
Oh my God!
But we live in Beaverbank. It's the country.
When we bought in Wolfville, and when we bought, there was tenant occupied, and the tenant had left a month before closing.
Oh, good.
So we closed February 1st, 2022. And we had a bunch of nor'easters before that. I think it was every weekend we had a snowstorm. And the agent called me like, "Hey, just a heads up. I just drove by the house for a final walkthrough before you're closing. The owner has not plowed the driveway and it's gravel." And he's like, "So we're getting a plow down now. It will be plowed for when you come in." I go, "Oh, thank you so much. That's great." They plowed the driveway, which was sheet ice, and it's on a slope.
Yeah.
So you getting out you had to use the car mats. But what they didn't do was, at the time there was a ramp to the front door. They did not plow or clear the ramp, so you could not get to the house. So I showed up. Me and my wife showed up for our final walkthrough.
Jumping through snowbanks.
Plowing through snowbanks. And then when she had to go back to Halifax to get the truck to bring down all the furniture, and I had to go to the hardware store, buy my first shovel, and I had to shovel from, and it's a pretty extensive walkway. But with renting, I never had to shovel.
So another thing about the renting, you can almost get away with not having your keys
Almost.
You know what I mean? Like
Almost.
if you can leave if you're in a nice building and you trust the neighbors and stuff, leave the door unlocked. It's just that front door you got to get past, right? Well, when you own your own home, and if say you're single and own that new home, it's just you and those keys, brother. And if you don't leave those keys, you're locked out, and that's it.
Why?
The amount of times I've tried to break into my own home.
Oh, that actually, you know what? My wife was at work, and I locked the door because I'm from the city. I'm born and raised in Halifax. I locked doors. She's from the country. She doesn't believe in it. She's like, no one lives near us. We live next to a cornfield. Like, we can leave the front. She doesn't lock a door. Doesn't believe in it.
No one goes near cornfields nowadays. You
Right.
know this.
Right? So I lock it and leave. She left her key in the bowl. We have a bowl in the house. Called me ranting and raving. Where are you? I'm in Halifax. I'm working. What's up? I can't get in the house. She's pregnant at the time. And she's like, I'm getting into this fucking house. I go, how the fuck are you getting in the house? She got the ladder from the side of the house. We have a little porch veranda that goes up to the a bedroom and a bathroom window. Yep. She stuck the ladder on the front of the house, broke in through the screen of the bathroom, and our neighbor from the cornfield saw her, knows she's pregnant, and said, are you sure you should be doing this while you're pregnant? And she goes, I'm not feeling well. I'm unwell. I'm going to bed. And she slammed the window, went to bed, sent me a selfie of her in the bed, said, fuck you. I got in, and I said, I'm very proud of you.
P.S. You have to go to the hardware store now to get a new screen.
$400.
So I have one of like those original neighborhood watch stickers in the window.
Oh,
from,
yeah.
Growing up, right next to your like milk sticker, what you want for the day. And I have not been questioned one time in the 6 years that I have broken into my house, and I've been on the roof, through the front window, back window, tried to go up the carport like Spider-Man. Once fell off the carport like because I was trying to do it and laid in the driveway, hurt. Nobody come to help. Great neighborhood, but just
Nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching. So,
you got your eyes in the window for the sticker, and that's what's watching.
Yeah. And then I see the sticker in the front window, thinking, oh yeah, nobody's gonna mess around in this neighborhood. Like, we got the sticker, right? Yeah.
Now here's okay. Home ownership is great. Equity gains. We'll talk about how to get into the market, how to get into home ownership in a second. How good was renting?
I liked it.
You liked it.
Convenient.
I you know what? I didn't mind.
You didn't mind.
And that's honestly, I didn't mind. 99% of it. I was fortunate to have great landlords for 99% of the time, which makes a huge difference.
That's half the battle.
And the setup too, I find too. Like if you're into buildings, if you're into the townhouses, or if you want a basement apartment, like
depends what you're in for.
Depends on what you're in for.
But it's funny because nowadays you don't get that choice. Nowadays it's like if you find something, fucking get.
But it's funny because I did. So I went from Dartmouth.
Yeah.
In a small little apartment to West Bedford in a 2-bedroom plus 10 condo.
Okay.
From there, rented a house. And then once we rented the house, bought a house.
You did the whole ladder.
Yeah.
It's the whole ladder.
Did the whole thing.
Okay.
And it was cool to like go through those stages and then be like, okay, now it's time.
Our first apartment, we got into like, I don't know if you guys know what the granary lofts are in South End Halifax. Yeah. Brand new build. It was it was like built in like 2012.
They're really nice.
They're lovely.
Yeah.
They're like all super industrial, modern, open concept, 18-foot ceilings, all concrete exposed things.
Oh, that's really nice.
We were back then, which was 2017. We got a 2-bedroom for $1,800 in that building with open concept, large kitchen. Location was perfect.
Yep.
My wife always says if the only way we ever move back to Halifax is if we go back to that apartment, because that was 1,200 square feet. Huge space, great location, $1,800 a month. You just like for the price and accessibility,
right?
And the building was flawless.
If you go back, it's not going to be $1,800 a month though.
I was yesterday when I was on Zumper.
Yep.
It crossed my mind to Google it.
To
be like, I wonder what there are, and I just said I don't want to know, and
You'll ruin a good memory.
I'll ruin a good memory.
Sorry.
Let it be peaceful in your mind.
Right. We went from quiet South End, and then one day. My wife said, okay, it's time to buy a house. We need to put some money away. We need to leave this place. And I said, I don't want to leave this place. This place is I got a rooftop gym with 360-degree windows from floor to ceiling. My gym, the manager here, if I tell him I got a plumbing problem, he shows up with the wrench and sends the plumber, and they're there instantly. I don't got to worry about it. Like,
you got the curling club across the street.
Why would I want to leave this? I got a walking distance to anything I want. I can stumble home from a bar safely. Yeah. I'm good. And she said, no, we need to leave. I found something for half the price in North End Halifax. And I said, okay, sure, fine. I'll leave my lovely, lovely, lovely apartment building to go to wherever this thing is. I'll never forget. This place was as ghetto can be. There was 2 shootings and arson in my neighborhood inside the first 6 months of moving.
Perfect.
We were like 2 blocks from Mulgrave. We were, and like that's the thing of renting. Like sometimes you just get
well,
you gotta go
location
in at the
is
price.
you can't really pick a location.
Yeah.
Especially now. I mean,
no.
When I started renting, you could look and say, okay, do I want to live in Halifax? Do I want to live outside the city a little bit? But now it could, as long as there's a place to put your head, it seems like that's what you have to do.
There's always the encampments. No, I'm just being pedantic. But like when you're talking about renting, I always think of like accessibility. Because if I ever want to get back to Peninsula Halifax, how much would it cost for me to purchase? The average price on that peninsula now is, if you want to
say mid 500 range. You know, now you can get lower.
What does that get you on the peninsula?
That's just it. And the outliers are the outliers, but like, what are you going to get? And
but what's the average median price that you said at the beginning? $511,000 purchase price.
Yeah.
Let's say North in Halifax. How much work does that house need? Like actual, like
You're going to have to put $500,000 probably into it.
just to get the foundation correct,
right? Like that the properties are going for what they're going for down there because of where it is.
Yeah.
And then the work begins.
Yeah,
right? I've got a neighbor who's just bought, and the house went for a really good price. It was like $299 in our area, but it would probably need about 100 to 150 on it. You know,
it's a whole new house.
You know, now if you're somebody that can do that, have at it. If you enjoy that and you want to put the time into it, great. If you're not, you just got to work that into your cost because
you are shaking your head vigorously.
I'm not going to do
happen.
that.
You know what I'm saying?
I'd start the project and walk away from it, and there would just be garbage bags hanging over holes in my walls.
Or you'd lay it on fire and claim the insurance.
And there's only so much he can come over and help.
Yeah, I do have my limits. Like
you have a life.
Well, I've seen you guys work. Not much of a life.
That's the work I know how to do, not the work I don't.
Yeah.
But when you then this is the thing, right? For me to get access to downtown, it's renting.
Yeah.
Now you're going to pay a premium.
Of course.
You know, we joke around that 2-bedroom, that granular lofts. It's probably going to be 25, 26, 27, 28 now to get that same apartment.
Yep.
And when we moved into a single in that building, a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, it dropped down to 14, right? In a really nice building with all the amenities. And they were pet friendly. Pet friendly.
Which is huge now.
That's another big thing in the city, right? Like
that's the thing all over HRM.
Yeah.
You cannot get pet friendly.
Yeah.
Another reason why
Homeownership
because of the dogs, right?
Yeah, because you have a herd.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to continue to house said herd, it was time because, like you said, trying to find a spot to take on one dog, let alone multiple dogs, cats, birds, lizards, snakes, whatever is up your alley, is impossible.
Yeah.
Or next to it because nothing's impossible.
I remember when we moved in the Granny Lost, they are pet friendly, but they only allowed certain dogs over a certain size.
Right. And then
like,
it's into breeds, shapes, and sizes, and they're like, I had a friend one time in Alberta, and she moved into a building condo, and it was all pet friendly. Everything was fine. Then they got a letter in the mail, all of them. I read it. I couldn't believe it. And it was like, literally, we only sold these condos as pet friendly in order to sell them. Now that we are at full occupancy, we're changing it. So now it's not pet friendly, but everybody that's in here and has a pet can keep it. Anybody moving forward can only basically have one type of pet. And you couldn't have a hamster, the fish, like, you know what I mean? It was like one type of cat, but not a crazy type of cat. You know, a dog, but the dog had to be a certain size. They even went so far as to ask for like DNA sampling from your animal because if and they wanted you to pay for it because they wanted if the dog did something in the yard, you know what I mean? And they had to test the waste in the yard. They wanted to trace it back to the dog. I'm like, this is
Those
insane.
people had nothing else to do with their time.
Actually?
I read it in the document. I couldn't believe it. Like, and the best part was they aerated the lawn. So you know those little like tiny little dirt pucks that come out. I'm like, what do you know is what? You know what I mean? When you're looking, the whole yard looks like everybody's dog went on it, but it's like you aerated the place. So, but
you don't get that in Halifax.
You don't get that in the home, but
well, you don't even get that in condos. Like you'll get the list of like house pets where they'll tell you like, you know, hamster, dog, cat, bird, but like you can't bring in like your dogs. You know, most people wouldn't take. I'm going to Matt Shallo here. Like,
you're not going to take a noof inside.
You're not going to take a noof inside. They're 180 pounds. You wouldn't be able to get my guy.
Right.
I couldn't take Thor, who's a 140-pound Great Pyrenees, into these condos, apartments, because they'd be like, that dog is a walking horse. When he stands, he's up to my hip. I'm 5'10".
Yeah.
Like, those things come into account, too, when you're talking about benefits of renting versus homeownership. It's the little things.
What lifestyle you want to live?
What lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to renovate?
Yeah, like I enjoy renovating. So like I've done stuff to my place. So like that was kind of the other thing too. Like for me, I've been able to do the new floors and put the new bathroom in and mantle and furniture and all this other stuff that I built in the garage because it had a garage. So it's a cool little spot, right? So the
other thing I got here for, I wrote down a list of renting pros and renting cons. Yeah. This is what I've got for pros.
What's our over-under right now? Like, what have we hit on more, cons or pros?
I think we've done pretty good, actually, in keeping it both. But what I've got for my list is landlord pays for upkeep, costs, damages, renovations, maintenance. These are renting pros. Landlord pays for property tax, because that's a very big topic right now. Landlord manages, I'm using air quotes on this word, manages your unit, plumbing and electrical, because not many landlords manage units well from what we hear on Reddit. Take Reddit with a grain of salt. Access to better locations, Halifax Peninsula, downtown Dartmouth. Periodic leases and rent cap are my last two. 5% year-over-year gain. Periodic leases, you're safe. Unless you get... Now, this is where we get into the cons. You could argue for a tenant. A con would be a fixed-term lease. I signed a fixed-term lease in South End, Halifax. I know that by December 31st, 2024, I'm out. Mm-hmm. And if I extend that to sign a brand-new lease, that goes outside the purview of the rent cap.
Game on, yeah.
Game on. Owner occupancy. You were saying someone wanted to sell the house you were in Bedford Highway. You were offered a chance to buy it. You didn't buy it. If they buy it, want to move in, owner occupancy, they can kick you out in 60 days. That's a con. Rent evictions. House is derelict. We got to renovate a new kitchen. You need to go. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, we're also going to double the rent.
Yeah. And you hear that
back,
a lot. Yeah.
Paying for parking.
It's huge now.
I don't even know how they justify the prices sometimes when you look at this. Like, what is this parking spot doing for me?
Well, actually, do you know how much it costs to put in an underground parking spot and on Peninsula Halifax or anywhere in HRM? It's around $100,000 per spot because we're on bedrock. So to drill to drill that down to the bedrock to get into build that one space, that's the cost. Now, I'm not saying that justifies them charging you $200 a month for the parking space and for the ability to park your car because everyone needs a car. I'm just saying if they put in, let's say your building has 20 spaces. You know what I mean? Like it's quite a lot.
The overhead is a lot. So you have to try to make it up somehow.
Somehow.
Right? No. Are they going to continue to do it? Yes.
Absolutely. They have leverage.
You have to look at it. They have to make the money.
100%.
If they're going to produce the goods, you have to pay for the goods.
Yep.
So it's cost of doing business.
Paying for storage. Yeah. This is the cons. Can't renovate, paint, design space. No pets. Neighbors in close proximity. Noise complaints. If you're a partier or you like to have people over. We had a few noise complaints in my day.
Kind of depends too on the age of the building. Like some of the older buildings are a little bit better, and some of the newer buildings, just how they're built, it's like the walls are kind of paper thin.
It's also, I find the newer buildings, they don't believe in space. It's like what you said, Matt, in a sense of like they're just trying to maximize the square foot. So they'll like build a brand new building, but they're 500 square feet units.
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to put in my IKEA 2-seater, my IKEA bed, and my IKEA TV stand, and that's all the furniture I can have in my apartment.
And it's going to take me 6 months to put that together.
Well, and then I've got the last thing could be bad landlord, owner, operator. If you got a bad landlord.
And I really think that's probably your biggest caveat in the rental space is that if you can get in with a good landlord that, takes care of what they're supposed to be taking care of and works with you.
And is fair.
And is
and reasonable.
That's the luck that I had.
Yeah.
And I know I'm very fortunate that happened to me because I know a lot of folks that were in similar situations to me did not have those same scenarios happen to them being on the same, playing field of income and whatnot. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
And I think the smaller renters kind of get a bad rap because at the end of the day, when you have a spot, you don't want to have to continuously rent it out.
No.
You want a good tenant. It's like, when we talk about mortgages and stuff and say what you want about the cost and borrowing and banks and everything, at the end of the day, a bank does not want to take your home.
No.
You know, they want you to get a mortgage. They want you to afford it. They want you to pay for it. And they want you to continue on and do all these different things. And the same thing with some of these renters. It's like they want good tenants. They want consistency.
Most do.
You know, they're not looking to, right? But again, even myself, with my history of renting, I've had landlords that absolutely, there was a hole in the wall from the day we moved in to the day we left, you know, and the fridge didn't work. And every day he was over, he was your buddy, and it was the, you know, I'll be there, back when nothing happened. And
I got two things. One, when people talk about banks and financing, you are asking the bank to invest in you.
Yeah,
that's what all the due diligence is, and that is they want to make sure you are good
100%
for the money they're about to give you, because you're asking for $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $600,000, and they want to make sure, okay, can this person purchase?
And that's why those parameters are put in place. You know, your
Right.
ratios that we have to go by, and things like that, because they're not trying to set you up for failure.
Exactly.
Like Matt said, they don't want to take the house.
Yes.
They're not in the business of kicking people out, but they are in the business of ensuring that they're protected.
Yeah. The second part, the day we were a week out from buying our place, a week out, and we got COVID. And this was 2021, so isolation was very real. Our sink broke that night. The landlord would not send anyone to come fix our sink because of COVID for 7 days. So we had no kitchen sink.
right.
We were I remember we're deathly ill. Like it was the bad COVID where like you like had the shivers, the shits, the chills, the full meal deal. The full meal deal of what COVID
Well, not to
was.
mention the atmosphere right then in the world was when you had it bad. She was, you know, like it was, and nobody was coming near you.
No, we couldn't get anyone.
Right.
And like the at that time, Nova Scotia's policy was 7 days isolation, down from 14.
Yeah.
So I remember being on the phone with the landlord, being like, "Send me the plumber, send me the guy," and he goes, "Non until 14 days." And this was the worst landlord I worked with, who used every friggin' loophole, used all the dates he could, and he knew I was leaving.
Oh,
He knew I was leaving.
There's your pin in it, right?
Why would I? And I remember just being like, oh. My wife and I on the couch, no plumbing. We had to wash dishes in the bathtub.
Oh my goodness.
But that's like that. But that is
making memories.
Well, it's a funny story 3 years later when you get past the trauma.
And that's just it, right? But at the time, you're thinking, holy whatever, I can't wait to own my own home so that I can rip this plumbing out right now. And
we did.
And, power to you. So,
and then this is what I've got for owning pros. You can tell me if I miss anything. Equity building. We already touched on that.
Yep.
You're the owner or landlord. You won't be evicted by a landlord, owner occupancy, etc. Pets. You get to own pets. Return on investment. People typically make money when they sell. Mortgage payments, pay down the debt, money in your pocket. You could eventually own the asset outright. Refinancing, income potential, rent it out, pay for itself, put a little cash in your pocket. Consistency, knowing where you're living. Because I think of fixed term leases.
Yeah.
Where in a year's time, they don't know where they're going.
13 times in 10 years.
13. And was that because you moved a lot or just because?
Yeah. It's just kind of how it all shaped up to be, but that's why home ownership feels good, because this is the first time I've been able to put roots down in a really long time.
Yeah. And I've got cons. Owning cons.
You got one more pro.
What's a pro?
If you're self-employed.
It's a
If you're
write-off.
self-employed and you work from home and you have a home office, boom, 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 all these different things open up for you that you can effectively write off, right?
My house, we turned it into open concept. That is my office.
Yes.
The main
I bet it is.
floor.
I bet it is. Yes. Yeah. To our viewers out there, your write-off is based on the square footage of the size of your home office. So if you put it in the bathroom, you get not a lot of money off. If your whole main floor is your home office, you are doing all right.
I get to write off, and it's 600 square feet main floor, 600 square feet up top. So I write off half of everything.
Yes.
Every power bill, every utility.
Yeah. Yes.
So yes, that is
huge pro.
That is a pro.
Huge pro.
Cons: property taxes. Right.
Yep.
Bills.
Yep.
But you could argue bills are also tenants, because the way renting is now is you're usually handling most of the bills.
Utilities, yeah.
It's you know what it is. It's the give and take with the renting and the owning. So when you rent, you're up against the landlord. You have no ability to do what outside of that. When you own the home, the bills are going to be what the bills are going to be. If Nova Scotia Power wants to put the rates up, they'll go to the utility board. But like we all know, that's a weird song and dance. So like when they go up, and they will go up.
Oh yeah.
There's what are you going to do? It is what it is. You're taking it on the chin that way too.
My favorite is property taxes with the latest assessments. I've got a few friends call me like, I'm fighting this. I go, cool. You know what they're going to do?
They're going to put it up higher. Because they're going to say your neighbor actually sold for $50,000 to $60,000 more than what we assessed you at, or $150 more. So you want to look around and find out? Yeah. Call us again is what they're going to say.
What they also do is they'll go, you bought this 6 months ago? You'll be like, yeah. You bought this at this price? And then they'll be like, yeah. And then you'll be like, why did you buy it at that price? And you're going to go, well, I was in competition. And they're going to go, so you think the home is worth this much? And they're, well, no. Well, then why did you pay this much? Yeah. They're going to beat you by viewpoint.
There's pretty much. There's absolutely times when you want to go up against and fight it, but there's certain times where it's just like, listen here. Don't rock that boat.
Maintenance. We've all talked about our own maintenance issues.
I love maintenance issues with my house. Like it's. I'll go home tonight. Who knows?
Upgrades. So upgrades. We don't have to talk about upgrades. So furnace, if your furnace kicks out, roof, if you need a new roof, eavesdrops, downspouts, oil tank, heat pumps, kitchen,
there is a lot of stress
bathroom,
that comes with it, right?
flooring, paint. You know what I mean? Yeah. Furniture. Furnishing a house versus furnishing an apartment are two very different things.
100%.
Especially when you have pets.
You don't buy the nice stuff, eh?
Like, the dogs are fine.
The dogs wreck a couch in 6 months. Like, it's no matter what you pay for that price couch either.
I've got outside where you want to live. Most people typically don't get to buy a house where they ideally want to. Like, most people want to live in Indigo Shores in Middle Sackville. They can't afford Indigo Shores. Most people want to live in downtown Halifax. They can't afford downtown.
Now, I think the market now, it's getting a lot less. When I bought 6 years ago, God love my realtor at the time. We went to 50 homes and we went all over the place because that was the market.
You had the option.
We had the option. It was a buyer's market. There wasn't a lot of people buying. Prices were where they were. So I shopped wherever I wanted because whatever.
You got down payment, closing costs. This is a fun one. One of your owning costs, I put realtors just because we are a nuisance. If we sell, we're taking a lot of your money to sell it. It's true. I know we are.
To provide the service.
Potential repossession if you foreclose from the bank. Unexpected costs if your plumbing bursts, if your tree falls down, if I don't know what you did, but something unexpected happened to you.
Or you put a fence up.
Giant.
And like some of them, like say, they're unexpected costs, but they're things you wanted to do, but it all costs money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like I find like renting versus owning, the mindset is always like it's always better to own. But there are I got friends who are like, I happily rent. I don't worry about anything. And they're like, how's your rentals going? And I'm like, we're doing wallpaper today. I was doing wallpaper last night, my wife, finishing up a stairway. And they're like, cool. You ever just think of not? And I'm like, well, baby's due in 6 months. I gotta step up.
First thing the baby's gonna say when he gets here, or she.
What a great wallpaper this is.
There's the wallpaper. Why is this not up yet?
You and Mom slayed this wallpaper.
I grew in 9 months, and you couldn't even get up the wallpaper. Like
that's exactly what she'll say.
100%.
That's exactly what she'll look at me and say, who designed this?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, Mummy.
Yeah. Is this Wayfair?
And actually, we spent so much at Wayfair, they gave us a Flippers account.
There you go.
They literally called us being like, you've purchased so much stuff from us. And we're like, it's not that
Can you
much.
figure out where my desk is? I ordered it what was it, 4 weeks Christmas? I don't know. I don't know.
What I can say is we have access now to the designer page. It's a whole different page. It's all like the really high-end stuff for cheap.
Ooh.
I know.
It's like the dark web.
Wayfair. It's the dark Wayfair. You should have gone through him to get your desk.
But it's interesting. It depends on what your strategy is. At the end of the day, it's all about what your goal is and what you want to do. Like if you want to have, if you want to get a 1-bedroom apartment now and you can afford to get a 1-bedroom condo, and in the future you may want to get a home, go for the 1-bedroom condo. You're going to build equity.
100%.
You're going to set yourself up for the next thing you want to do, and you're off to the races. And then that 1-bedroom condo that you have in a few years, I mean, look at the trend now. You can rent it. you'll probably cover your costs, and then you can get into the next spot.
I mean, right now you can get, I have it, you can get on average $2,600 for your condo in HRM.
Right?
20, like that's average. That's like
and you can be, and you know what? And then you can be a conscientious landlord and turn the tides. Really,
you can make the difference.
Be the change. But you know, there's other situations where if you want to rent, like Matt, if you're good with renting, and you know, a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom is going to be cheaper than a mortgage on a condo or something. So then do that route, right? But again, it's whatever suits you and what your goals are.
Well, let's talk about this then, because people always struggle with. There are a lot of people that want to buy but are currently renting, don't know how to get out of that. What do you guys? I got the brokers here. What do you need to buy a house? Just rattle, like, what do they need? What do they need to do to buy a house?
As far as you're thinking,
everything, like down payment, closing costs. How much money do they need to save?
Right. So, depending on it comes down to your income at first and foremost. It's going to set up what you're going to be able to afford. But taking all that out of account, you're going to need 5% down bare minimum.
Yep.
You need your 1.5% purchase price, transfer tax.
Yep.
In the HRM anyway, outside the HRM, that gets a little different between 1 and 1.2. And
it fluctuates. You know, Kings County, which is like the Valley area,
Yeah.
is the only place that doesn't charge transfer tax right now.
Interesting.
Oh wow!
I didn't know that until I bought, and then I bought. And
that was good for you because you saved 1.5%.
I did, and I broke down all the costs involved in my purchase to like let my friends know like how much we spent.
Yeah. And
I had a realtor go to my Facebook account and comment on this post, being like, "Jason, you forgot transfer tax."
You were like,
and I literally, I you know what? No one saw that, but
I know. Yeah.
But that's exactly
my fingers.
That's exactly what I thought. Being like, "You bitch! Like, what are you calling me out right now?"
The double guns on that one.
And then
my Facebook.
And then I had to call my lawyer and be like, "Hey, like, did we pay the transfer tax?" He goes, "Jay, it's free in Kings County. Go to bed." It was like midnight.
But that's a great surprise, right? Because
it's always nice when your lawyer tells you to lay down.
When you're really close to what you can afford and how much you've had saved over that time, that 1.5% can make or break the deal for you.
Yeah.
Right? And then again, taking into account, like Matt was saying about your lawyer fees, you know, we work with some pretty great lawyers that aren't going to charge you for every time they answer the phone. But, you know, there is a cost associated. It becomes anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200.
It also depends on how much business you give them.
And that's fair too, right? But that's why you work with great people. Great people can help you in different ways, right? You know, obviously, from your side of things, you're probably pushing folks, to do home inspections. You know, that's a big deal because you don't want to have it. It comes down to the home ownership, right? At the end of the day, you skipped an inspection and you're in the house, and then all of a sudden, these unforeseen scary costs that we were just talking about come up and you didn't know.
I always say if you're going to buy a house, budget $1,000 to $2,000 for inspections.
Sure.
Because home inspection nowadays, if you're doing single families, around $5,000 plus tax, so you're looking at $550, $560, $570 in there. Sewer line inspection. If you're not, if you are buying anywhere that's municipal, with the amount of renovation that goes on in this city on street construction, you need to get that line checked.
Oh yeah.
Because they crack those things way more than you think.
I've already had mine done because of home maintenance on the home. I had roots go up through the pipe and bust through.
Septic?
No, I'm on municipal.
In Hammond's Plains?
Yeah, but it was one of the laterals going out to the main road, and anyway, it was so they came in, cauterized the pipe. It was super cool when I got inspected.
How much was it?
Oh, I think that was maybe. It wasn't too bad. It was only a few $100.
We once caught a line in Northern Halifax for a client that was 85% backed up. If they had flushed toilet like 8 more times, the basement would have been. Oh. And it was because Halifax Water someone was doing street construction and they dinged the line and gravel got in it, so it couldn't leave. Yeah. So it just kept building up. I'll never forget when the inspector put the tool in the line and it just hit muck, and he just goes, "Oh no!" And I go, "Oh no, what is that?"
Oh no!
Oh.
Yeah, we caught that, but that's like, if you put those together, you're probably looking at about sewers like $350 to $400 now, depending on who you use. So you're probably pushing $1,000 there. If you're buying a house not on septic, on septic and well, it's flow recovery, which is how quickly your well recovers water. Water quality, which is can you consume this and can you bathe in this, and then you've got septic, which is they're each and ever $400 a piece. So that's 1,200 plus an inspection, 17. Like if you're gonna buy a house, there are down payment we talked about, closing costs we talked about,
and
inspections.
that down payment shouldn't just be the focus. I guess is
absolutely
really the
not. No.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, can I afford it? Can I afford it? Yeah.
Are there other ways to get down payments than just saving up and scrounging the change and not eating out for 5 years because you're
grabbing it on rocks? And there's some options. The first option we always try is, if you can't come on by yourself, do you have a proper cosign that may be able to come on the file for you to kind of help bring that cash to the table. There's opportunities. Lenders are really great with gift letters now, and that we're seeing a huge rise in gifted down payments from families that have the ability to do so. And then you have products like the down payment assistance program that the government came out with, and that'll allow you to access up to $25,000 for a down payment, which at 5% is a $500,000 home. So you're kind of hitting that median price in the HRM. There are some rules stipulations that go along with the program. $145,000 for total income for the home. So if two people in there,
2 people on $70K each, that's your max.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You have to have an agreed purchase and sale in hand prior to, and then you have to make sure that as a good realtor partner, as a good broker, you guys are talking, because that process isn't just quick. It's like a 10-day. It could be up to 10 days for you to get that actual approval from the powers that be, so to speak, about the down payment assistance. So you want to give enough time to the closing process to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I'm sure on the seller side of things, that's going to make people super uncomfortable. But it really just all depends. So it is a great program, and it's fantastic that we have something for folks. It's just not as cut and dry as a lot of people think.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. Like I've gone through it with clients, and it's just the fact that they don't start the process until you show up with an accepted offer.
Right.
And in the market, when you are competing, it is tight conditions. Mm-hmm. Conditions being, hey, we're writing an offer today. It is Thursday, January 25th. We want to buy this house. We want to get our financing done by Wednesday, January 31st. Good luck getting that through.
Well, these agencies need the time to be able to review the documents too.
And review the humans.
And there's a lot of people going for these programs.
Yeah.
Right? So they're seeing an influx themselves and people in traction just coming to do the program. So for all fairness, you got to give them the time to actually be able to review the stuff, right?
It is also a 10-year 0% interest-free loan, though.
It is, yeah. So unlike where it's like RSP, the RSP program, first-time home buyer, you have to pay that back to yourself. Same thing with this, but it's an interest-free loan back to the government.
Yeah. The my buddy bought in 2017, just before they announced this. He called them and they gave it to him.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Retrospectively.
Wow.
It was wild.
That's interesting.
That's what I said. I was like, what?
How much time had passed in between?
Like 2 months. It was literally like he closed and he was a server, so he saved and scrounged every tip to get that money. He did it in a year. He saved $17,000 in a year. We worked at a nice restaurant.
You also have the ability for the first time home buyer savings program.
And which is that?
So that's $8,000 a year, up to $40,000 in total.
So yeah,
and it's essentially like a tax-free savings account.
You can put $8,000 away, up to I think it's $40,000 to $45,000, so around 5 years.
Yep.
And then you pull it out untaxed and use it towards a down payment.
Yeah. There's ways. Yeah. You just have to save money.
You do. Like at the end of the day, unless you're getting the non-repayable gift from an immediate family member, it may take time.
Yeah.
And save more than what you would anticipate. Give yourself some breathing room, right? And to the, if you're going to apply for a mortgage, know that you need to have work. You need to be working, and you need to be working for the last 2 years.
Do you get people that apply for mortgages who are not working?
Sometimes.
I do love people,
and it's all situational based, and there's a story, and you completely understand. But a lender wants to see that you're working, and you've had steady, even if it's in the same industry. If there's been some time apart from it, but if you've been in the same industry, that just shows longevity.
Well,
right?
It also goes like if you're employed, it's 90 days. You have to get past probation.
100%.
If you're self-employed, it's 2 years of proven taxes and income, where you make sales. Yep. And I always say, whenever I get a buddy or someone who is employed and being like, I think I'm gonna go self-employed, I'm gonna become a realtor, I go, buy a house now.
Yes.
Buy a house right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why? Do not wait.
It just gets more complicated.
It's wait. I remember I got licensed in 17, and I didn't start making sales till 18, so I needed 2 years.
Yep.
I watched the market run for me. I just watched it just
As you
like
chased it, yeah.
and I remember being like, oh,
Bye.
I could live in Halifax. Now I can live in Dartmouth. Oh, I could live in Dartmouth. Now I got Sackville. Sackville might be too much for me. I guess I'm going to Wolfville.
Now I live in Knoll.
Or Brooklyn or somewhere. or Jador.
Yeah.
Right? Like whenever I have a friend who's like, I'm going to go this, I'm like, buy something. I don't care what. Buy something.
Get into a starter, right?
Just get into a starter. Right, because we talked about this. You've been a lifelong renter for until a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm 2 years up to my house in a week. You've been owning a house for 6 years. Is it better for someone to rent or someone to buy?
At the end of the day, like I think we've all kind of sat around and said the same thing. It really just becomes situationally based. If the ease of renting versus the not worry of not being able to have the equity, so be it. If you're not worried about having extra cash, or you don't think that, you know, that the home maintenance and everything that comes along with it is a necessary evil, rent.
Yeah.
If someday you potentially want the problems that come with having a home and the joys of fixing them all, then yeah, get into it. You know what I mean? Get into a condo instead of renting, and look to get in some way into the market and keep going forward. You know, if you want to have to paint the fence and fix the power when it was ripped off the house, yeah, do it.
I mean, putting the mortgage broker hat on, obviously, the more people that buy it benefits.
Us. And then call us. And then when you want to do it, call us. But
it is all.
This is the pitch.
Yeah,
It all becomes very.
No pressure.
I'd say situationally, but I'd love if everybody that was listening purchased.
Yes.
And they called us.
And they called all of us here.
But
again,
support you if you don't want to.
I would never hold it against somebody that said, you know what, I'm going to rent forever, because I'm sure there'll be a time in my life where I'm over the fact of trying to mow the grass, shovel the rock driveway.
Buddy, I have an acre. It does not get,
I have an acre and a half.
Does not get mowed.
So
I have a push mower.
My neighbor has one of those, like, essentially Roombas for his yard. He has a little motorized
I've got a
lawnmower.
story for you.
3 o'clock in the morning, you just see 2 little lights in his front yard just zipping around, and
I apologize
So
if I told
brilliant.
this story already, but it's one of my favorite stories. We were in Ontario, and we were visiting my wife's roommate in college, and we're coming out to this house, and my wife says, "You can't comment on this house." And I'm like, "What is wrong with the house?" Like, I'm thinking like burnt down crap, you know. And she's like,
hideous color.
"They come from more money than you know, and the house is representative of more money than you know." I go, "All right, let's get into this thing." 2-story wine cellar.
Oh,
Two-story wine cellar.
We talking Butler too?
I didn't see a butler, but
he was off that day.
yeah.
Or she.
But we're in a ranch. The whole
It's have a 2-story wine cellar in Downton Abbey.
Yeah. So we're in this house. This thing is the richest house I've ever been in my life, and you would never know. These people, you would never know. You'd never know they have money. When you talk to them, hang out with them, you have no idea. They're great people. But the backyard's 2 acres of ranch for the horses, right? And we're at midnight drinking scotch, and the dad goes, "Hey, do you want to go throw some axes?" And I go, "Yeah, that'd be awesome." Like, when we're throwing axes, he goes, "We put a big target out back. It's a big, like."
He wakes up all the
like,
servants in the house, and they all line up and start running from the axes.
and he's giving us BB guns and pellet guns, and he's got a rifle out back, and he's like, "We're gonna try and hit the target." And yeah, try to hit the target.
And we're drinking scotch.
And we are drinking. And so
PSA, guns and scotch.
Yeah.
I've got an axe in my hand ready to try and hit this friggin' target. And I'm like 10 yards away. Like, if I don't hit this thing, but then headlights are at me. And I'm in the backyard of a 2-acre ranch that's fenced in, and I literally go, I must be hammered because I see headlights looking at me right now. And the dad goes, "Oh, that's the lawnmower." I pivoted so hard on my heels. "What do you mean that's your lawnmower?" He's like, it's a Roomba lawnmower. It manages. Doesn't cut. No, it manages our lawn. And I go, "What do you mean?" And this thing is just putting about, cutting the grass, and it parked
Oh yeah,
itself.
Yes.
With the solar panel charged battery,
Yeah.
it went to sleep.
Yeah.
20 minutes later, boop, headlights come back on.
Off it goes.
Off it goes.
Yeah.
We went in the car, and my wife is like, "Hey, like, what do you think of the house? I go, it's the Roomba. I don't care about the movie theater. I don't care about the 2-story wine cellar. I don't care about any of it.
That's when you know you made it.
My exact words.
100%.
I know I've made it when I have a robot cut my grass.
Yeah.
I still don't have one. They're like $4,000. I looked it up.
So what I've noticed is they essentially work like the proximity limit for your dog in the yard.
Yeah.
So you have to bury a wire. So you bury a wire. So if your yard is kind of piecemealed, you've got the front yard and then it's the backyard and there's no direct route where you can bury that wire, it can get sectioned off. But if you've got a property that's massive and you can just bury that wire, go for it. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Home ownership. If you don't want to mow the lawn, get a Roomba.
Maybe my next investment.
I don't necessarily think that could be a write-off. Well,
depends.
Maybe.
Depends what the pitch is.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say it. I'm all in on home ownership.
Oh, me too.
Not on you necessarily owning the home. If you don't want to live in it, rent. And you don't want to do the maintenance. But I'm all in on you owning an asset. I'm all in on that because you're up 150K. Mm-hmm. You're up, I'm sure, something because you bought Hammond's Plain 6 years ago.
Yeah, no. My house is doubled and then some.
Yeah, doubled and then some. I'm up at least 150, at least. But I've had to put in substantial amount of work. Like we did a full gut. So
yeah, I remember you talking about that.
So but we're still up even from if we put in 70. I'm at least up. I'm probably up 150, which is double.
Right.
Plus, I pay down the mortgage.
Right.
And own ownership. So when it comes to renting v owning, it is circumstantial for what you prefer. I will never talk poorly of anyone that rents.
Right.
Because you know what? Sometimes I don't want to renovate my house.
It's a great vehicle to use for personal growth when it comes to like finances and what you want to do with your money.
Renting or home ownership?
Home ownership. Not renting.
I got the rents right here, buddy.
Call me. Yeah.
Now accepting new clients.
It's great if you own the building that's being rented.
Yeah.
We also have a commercial side. But it's, again, it's, to have the home yourself and put the equity into the home and what you can do with that equity for yourself, it can be a huge game changer.
Before we go, biggest pros of renting and biggest pros of owning.
I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
Pros of renting were set it and forget it. Like that's just a motto I lived by for renting, right? Just if it snowed, awesome. I'm in an apartment building. I'm underground. I'm going to drive out of there. Bob's your uncle. I liked throwing my garbage down a chute. I played a game with it, so that was fun.
I played a game with it.
Again, I had great landlords, so I really can't speak to really bad situations. But cons was never ours. I was always worried that the dogs were going to destroy something, and then I would have to call him to fix it.
Gestures to other Matt.
Yes. Right?
It's true.
Yeah, and then the fear, specifically when we were moving into the renting of a home, is are they going to want to sell this at some point, and are we in a position to take this on? And if we're not, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And that, I think, ultimately putting your head on the pillow at night was when it was like, okay, we have to move forward towards home ownership because we can't change our situation that we have now. And because of that, I've been able to, again, generate some equity, have space for the dogs, have somewheres that I know I can go home to tonight. No one's going to call me tomorrow and say, listen, we got to have XYZ, you're out of here. So
okay.
I liked the city aspect of renting. Halifax is such a vibe, and I'll even say it to my girlfriend now when we're downtown. It's like I miss, the late night in the city when you can go for a walk around the streets. You know what I mean?
It's the only thing I miss.
You know what I mean?
It's the only thing I
just
miss.
The atmosphere. I like the city atmosphere. I like being able to, the restaurants, the different spots you can go to. That was always what I liked about renting, or at least being in the city. And
yeah.
I was renting when I was in the city because I couldn't afford a home. Owning a home now, again, I just love working on the place. As much as I've had issues with the place, there's no better feeling than, going, shoeless mowing the lawn with a beer in your hand, or going up on the roof and, I don't know, tarring the chimney, or doing something. Like, to me, it's just putter.
You're selling home ownership right now.
You know what I mean?
Shoeless with blades spinning near
like,
my feet.
Be a Saturday morning and the girlfriend she'll look at me and she'll just be like, so what are you doing now? You just puttering? I'm like, I'm puttering, baby. Like, yeah. And it's out in the yard and it's in the garage and it's in the basement and it's whatever. But I have that's the freedom I get with the home. But then again, you got to pay a hefty cab fee when I want to go downtown.
Me too. Yeah.
So
I wish. I don't want to live in Halifax. I'm happy. Like, I love Wolfville. We've already said we're never coming back. We're gonna stay in Wolfville and in that area, in the Gasboro where we are. But every time I'm in downtown Halifax, I'm always like, oh, the vibe, like the energy.
Yeah.
Like, people are doing things. We're out and about.
Walking home from
doesn't matter.
I call it the Metro Center, and I'm sure it's got 14 different names. But you walk home from the Metro Center. You're
Pizza
walking
Corner,
up Springergarten Road.
All the
you're walking down
there,
Argyle, the cool little restaurants and the neat little stores and stuff like that.
I told you guys I'm in town tonight for NSA Day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to 3 different restaurants.
Right.
I cannot wait to go bar hop and enjoy a night out, and because it's been so long. That would be accessibility downtown is what I would say is a pro for renting for me. I would love to live downtown again.
Right.
Home ownership. It's knowing I never have to worry about where I'm living again. Like if I die in this house, probably not going to be happy about that. I probably want to make more money that I can move out of it and upgrade. But
for me, it's really how I did it. Like, if I don't know, accidentally electrocuted myself, I'd be upset. But a simple fall down the stairs, who knows? But
I've done the electrocuted thing. It's not fun. Hence I don't do anything.
But it's equity for me. Is like my number one.
Yeah.
Equity is my number one thing about home ownership. It's being in the market to be there for the gains and the falls. Because even we did the math that I had my other broker on 2 weeks ago, and we did the peaks and falls of the market.
Right.
And even from the lowest point in the last 2 years of the market, you were still up if you bought 2 years ago.
Right.
It's equity and home ownership.
Well, and even if the market's not the greatest, and you're not.
That means it's a great time to buy.
Well, no, but if your house isn't making crazy money year over year because of what's happening in the market, you at least still have that personal satisfaction that it's yours and you're doing something to it. You just get that feeling when you've done something to the house, you've made a difference, or you've changed something that you wanted. You're just like, oh, neat, this is mine. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So, in 5 years from now, you're going to get the money back.
Sorry.
Go on.
No, I just thought he was done, but he kept going. It was really nice. Just an example of that, and how you're saying, the returns on the investment in real estate are great. I had a meeting with a high net worth client the other day, and we were talking about, the value of his portfolio versus the value of his real estate portfolio. And his stock portfolio has significantly dropped, and his real estate portfolio has significantly risen.
Yeah.
So you're seeing, the more high net worth folks, again, that's not really a rent versus own, but it essentially speaks to the equity.
It's wealth building.
And that's where I was going with it, right? Is that for yourself, you're going to have a little girl, you'd really like to have, the ability to have wealth generated in the future. And if you're, the days of the stock market are really starting to become less and less and more into your real estate side.
I think it ebbs and flows. Like one cycle will be stocks, one cycle will be bonds, one cycle will be real estate. As they're all in, you're gonna get we're almost done. I swear, you guys can go work your lives. I'm not gonna keep you forever, but there is a quote. I think I was reading Tony Robbins' book a few years ago about investing in stocks, and what he said was in his book is, if you weren't in the market for 27 days of a fucking 75-year period, you broke even. But if you were in the market for those 27 days, or how many days it was over that 75-year period, it was 1,000 times X what you put into it. It's timing. Yeah, it is timing, and you can't time it. Don't listen to anyone else.
There's no one that can predict it. But again, it's a commitment to what you want. So even with stocks, I've got my own stock portfolio, and they're not doing great this year. But the stocks that I have I believe in the stock. I believe in what the product is and what the business is. So I'm going to stay in them until.
Well, here's the other thing.
I close my portfolio. But the same thing with a home. If you believe in the home and you want the area and you want what comes from it, go for it. The
other thing is your losses are theoretical until you sell.
100%.
Whatever they say you're down by, it's not realized until you actually like in the last year with rates, everyone's been like, oh, the market's down. And I'm like, well, it's only down if you have to let go. If you have to let go, then you might take a little loss depending on. And usually, this is where once again realtors, I've seen people sell in the buy and sell in a year, and the only reason they took a loss was us. After all the rest, it's because our fees kick into play, and that's not. And listen, they wouldn't sell it if it wasn't for us. We provide.
There's a service provided.
There's a service provided, right? But you could argue it's just seeking the truth of, I have clients that bought in August 2022. They sold in July 2023, and the only reason they didn't break even was me. But I believe they wouldn't have sold that price if it wasn't for me.
That's
Right.
why we so often have to not charge our clients, is to allow for you guys to charge.
He's kidding. Because
Oh, I know.
our services are free on the residential side.
I know he's kidding.
He's going off on a
Because the
tangent
bank
now.
pays you, not us.
Yeah, 100%.
Brokers are free, right?
'Cause you took it all.
100% unless you're dealing in the commercial space.
Oh, boys, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for letting us ramble on and post what I hope to be somewhat valuable information. But if not, you know what? We put it up on the highlight reel and we go from there.
All right, boys.
That was
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Matt Shallo, you can reach him at mshallo@mortgagealliance.com or 782-640-8533. If you'd like to get in touch with Matt Legatto, you can reach him at mlegatto@mortgagealliance.com or 902-240-3304. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can reach me at 902-220-7357 or jason@infinityrealestategroup.ca. Thanks again. Bye.